Three major purposes of government: maintaining public order, providing public goods, promoting equality. Then, of course, you're looking at government's three things you should look at: order, freedom, and equality. All of those kind of bounce off of each other, and you end up also then with how governments choose the proper mix of freedom, order, and equality. Two kind of models of democratic government that we mix together: majoritarianism, pluralism. Order, narrow sense, refers to preserving life, protecting property. Social order, just kind of how things are actually done within the society, what's kind of acceptable and what's not acceptable. Equality, equality of opportunity, equality of outcome. Most Americans have no problem with equality of opportunity. In fact, I'd say all Americans at least say they have no problem with that, but the equality of outcome becomes a little bit more of an issue, especially if you're looking at the redistribution of wealth. So that there is much more economic and social equality, and those things can actually be achieved. And that is of government. So ideology and what government should actually do. There's a larger kind of an idea that the going from the right to the left in the political spectrum is those that believe there should be very little government involvement all the way to the left, on the right-hand side, all the way to the left-hand side, where they say that those should have a great deal of government involvement, all that revolving around equality. Those on the right, less government involvement, of course, are willing to tolerate less equality economically and socially. While those on the left are and this is the extremes of the ideologies, just kind of putting the and some of the differences between liberals and conservatives. What we typically know: liberals willing to have more government support for social programs in order to lessen the distance between rich and poor, but also oppose government regulation of some personal kind of freedoms, like abortion, gay lifestyle, some of those kinds of things, more tolerant to those kinds of lifestyles. So what this kind of shows you as far as the traditional political spectrum, I'm looking at a conservative, smaller government, yet oppose any kind of government activism in support of traditional patterns of social kinds of relations. What this shows you is that there's really no consistency between liberals and conservatives on the traditional spectrum. Liberals in certain things, mainly social things, would want less government involvement, but as far as more equality on economic things, would want more government involvement, and then conservatives would want the exact opposite. More government involvement to kind of control social kinds of things, social engineering things, less government involvement, more personal responsibility when it comes to economic types of things. So American liberals are willing to use government to promote equality, less likely to use government to maintain order. American conservatives willing to use government to promote the order, but much less so the equality. And this is a different kind of an approach, and every book has this. This actually isn't our book, but you can see that instead of being one line, it's kind of it's an algebraic chart with an X and Y graph, and basically it's more government or less government depending upon the different scales that you have. So economic scale, less government involvement on the right-hand side, more government involvement on the left-hand side to promote equality. In the social scale, down toward the bottom, the Y-axis, government involvement in order to promote social adherence, I guess we'd call it, more freedom on the bottom, and much more social engineering, complete conformity to whatever the state wants on the very top. So authoritarian groups, and you'll find people like Hitler, Stalin on the social axis, believed in a great deal of conformity. You didn't have a whole lot of choice in the whole matter, and you got yourself killed if you didn't conform. So all the way down toward the bottom, where the true libertarians would just believe complete freedom that you should have to be able to make your own kind of decisions about your own personal lifestyle and about how you want to be, and you don't really owe the state anything. Those on the right, on the x-axis, having to do with economic issues, the right who believe that the government should not be used for any kind of economic engineering. You basically get what you pay for in that situation. All the way to the left-hand side, you can see Stalin there. Not too far from Gandhi, but there should be quite a bit of government involvement to make sure that there's equality on economic types of issues. So, Gandhi and Stalin are fairly close together on the x-axis, but quite a ways away on the y-axis, the social engineering one. Hitler and Stalin, which actually are fairly similar as far as on the social axis, on the economic axis, are fairly far away. Hitler, believe it or not, being a more free marketer and believing in a capitalistic approach to a great extent. So, and this is some of the more recent people who ran for the presidency, but the two you probably recognize most, Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, not really that different in what they're in where they are on social things and on economic types of things. They're in the authoritarian right, both of them, and I know that's hard to believe, but that probably also tells you a lot about how our campaigns are run. Name calling is just key, trying to paint the other guy as just 2 steps away from Hitler, which I guess maybe they're 3 steps, but not they're at least in the same bracket, if you want to call it that. But there's not a whole lot of difference there. They both parties and both people actually believe a great deal in a free market socialism or economic kind of an approach. Very little difference between that. Obama and his Obamacare was a free market approach to solve the problem of problems in the healthcare system. As much as anybody wants to call it about government take over it, no, it's probably more government pay for it, not government take over it, which of course is why the AMA and why different insurance groups were more than happy to have it passed, because you just then gained 50 million customers, people who were going to go ahead and buy your product, and if they couldn't, the government was going to help pay for it better than if you had that many people just buy it off the free market, because they might or might not pay for it. So, and there are some of those issues kind of arising even at that. But some social engineering kinds of issues that might be, the glitch between the two there might simply be, between this and this, might be their viewpoints on abortion, and that might be the only